Welcome back. Glad you could join me again. Sam the electrician here, speaking about Western independence and Alberta separation. Today, Justin Trudeau down in Ottawa revealed his choices of cabinet members for his minority government. Pretty much was to be expected, more of the same. Same old. A few little tweaks that he did here and there to make it seem like he's not trying to play both sides of the country against each other and alienate the West, but we can easily see through that. The main changes were the environment ministry, the McKenna stepped down and moved to interior economic development or some such. There's so many posts now in the cabinets, it's hard to keep track of all of them. And just ridiculous, actually, the amount of posts. I did read a very interesting article today by somebody in, I believe it was the National Post, in which the author voiced the opinion that it doesn't really matter anyway. The cabinets are so big and they're just puppets of the prime minister that the country lately in the last few election cycles is basically run almost exclusively by the PMO, the prime minister's office, and his close advisors. They set policy and the rest of the ministers and everybody are just there to toe the line, which is becoming increasingly true over the years. And once the election is in, if a Canadian party gets a majority, they basically rule like a dictator for the 5-year term. We saw this happening over and over again throughout since this sort of modern era of politics. The cabinet posts sort of become less and less relevant. They're sort of the face of those policy and cabinet posts, but they're not given as much say as in the older days. That's what this person was saying in the National Post, and I tend to believe that. I tend to believe that the Prime Minister's hold on power grows as the years go by. So one of the most interesting things I read today about this whole thing is the Quebecers are bitter and angry. They got 27.7% of the cabinet posts. According to my math, 10 out of the 36 cabinet positions are held by Quebecers, including most of the most important ones. And that's not good enough, of course, for the Bloc Donné Mois party. They want more, and by not naming a rabid activist environmentalist to the environment file, they're complaining that Ottawa's pandering to Alberta and treating us special and all this, yet Trudeau created or recreated a cabinet post called Lieutenant of Quebec, whatever the hell that is, a guy in the federal government who makes sure that Quebec doesn't get hurt feelings and they get all the special treatment they want. Oh, here you go, Donné Mois, here you go. It's comical. And again, it just feeds into why we want to leave and why we don't want to have any part of the totally unequal and terrible system that's been set up in this country. And it's funny how Quebec is indignant and angry, thinking that we're getting the special treatment, like they're the only ones who should deserve any special treatment, right? And just like the disdain I get from Quebecers and in general about our separatist movement, like they're the only ones who don't like the treatment they get from Ottawa, right? And Trudeau just plays it perfectly, right? He just knows exactly what to do. He learned from his father how to play the West off Quebec and how to especially play Quebec off the West. And he's doing it, and he's keeping the country divided, keeping his hold on power just like he planned. But what he didn't plan is that it's more of the same old stuff. It's actually really good news for us out here west in the West and the movement in Alberta, Saskatchewan, anyone else in the other provinces who wants to jump on board. In that the fence sitters out here and the federalists out here are eventually going to get sick of it, and they're going to see, because of the conversations that have been taking place lately around leaving Confederation, they're going to see that it is just more of the same, and it's endless, and it's just pandering to the Bloc Donné Mois, and Ontario holds the country together by keeping us apart. So I don't see any alternative now. I think a lot of Albertans have come to that point, and I think the fence sitters and the federalists, even after a few more years of this and a few more election cycles of the same thing happening over and over again, will eventually just be forced to jump on board by the weight of the facts that weigh on our shoulders out here. So it's good news today, actually, as terrible as it is, in the lack of representation that the West gets. Keep dishing it out, Ottawa, because you're just helping us out the door. Anyway, take it easy.